Nice computer. Cool. Hey, good morning. Super excited to continue on. We took a little bit of a break there with our strong four discussions. Things just got a little bit busier, but we decided to kind of pivot like most coaches do in certain situations. And so we're going to continue these strong four conversations, just Coach Ed and myself, at least for the time being. We'll bring in some other coaches to join the conversation in the future, we hope. But Ed, this is awesome. I mean, you and I've been talking. I almost feel like, we're the prime examples of the athletes we work with, that we've had a lot of talk about this. It was time to it was time to poop or get off the pot. And
yeah,
I'm certainly not one to get off. So let's go ahead and get it going. But our previous episodes, we talked a little bit about what we want this strong four, discussion to really benefit. What's kind of the overarching theme? What's kind of the big objective that you want athletes to get out of our conversations?
I want the athletes and coaches to understand the importance of the strength conditioning coach and his role on the staff. What a strength conditioning coach brings to it, but also for the strength conditioning coach himself to understand that, he needs to study the sport that he's working in. And that means getting out there and coaching a little bit. That doesn't mean just standing there, with a stopwatch, only running sprints or just doing the warm up. He needs to get out there, do some passing. He needs to get out there and understand, what's going on, and then talk to the players about what they feel like what's happening while they're doing stuff. We talked before. I mean, a perfect example is the scrum. And watching that and then getting in there close and watching it and talking to the guys, listening to them, so you can understand exactly what it is that they need when they get back into the weight room. Too many coaches say, "Oh no, this is the weight room is not sport specific, but I'm going to train my loose head, my hooker, and my tight head are all going to have a little different in their training." So that strength coach needs to understand that. I get a lot of American coaches that want to, hey, how do I get into rugby? And it's just a fantastic sport. How do I get into that? Well, you have to understand the sport. I mean, I just have been engaged with it since 2006, even before that. But in 2011, when I went over to train Ben, I mean, Frank's after World Cup, I got sat down at the table and shown videos, and this is what I need. This is why I need it. Here's some videos, watch them. I'll question you tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
So it was the same thing I did in the NBA too, and in college basketball. I talked to real players, asked them what they needed, try to figure out how I can make it better for them.
Yeah. No, that's and that's one of the things that I've loved about you ever since Grant introduced us back in 2015, is your vast experience in so many different sports. And as you were kind of talking about that, and you mentioned the scrum specifically, and that's something that I'm excited about, our conversations kind of going towards or taking is, we're gonna zoom in on certain positions and certain skills within those positions, but as we all know, those skills translate to other positions. Just because a loose head prop is engaged in a scrum and an outside center doesn't mean that some of those traits and some of those skills can't transfer to an outside center. But from our perspective, we do want to zoom in on that one position, because just as you said, you've sat down and had those video sessions with the players and with the coaches, and it's something that's unique to that position.
It's only an exercise or two, or maybe it's an exercise that you leave out, an exercise that you add in, little extras at the end. I always call them extras, where we're going to work on different aspects of what you need for you and for your position on the pitch. But every player 1 through 15, all the way through 23, all the way to the guys that are sitting, that are in the, each one of them is going to benefit from a real strength conditioning program in absorbing that, understanding why it's important. You can be this, you can be that, you can be fast, you can be all these things, but if you aren't resilient, you're worthless.
Yeah.
If you're really strong, but you can't do anything, you just look good getting off the bus. And it's just, that's a hard thing to understand. You still have to keep working on your rugby skills. You still have to keep doing this. You still have to keep doing that. But there's ways of putting it in there. And that's some of the stuff I want to kind of cover when we do stuff is, like a lot of times if we're doing sprints and the rest periods are 1 to 3, 1 to 4, well, you're not just going to stand there during that rest period. For the first part of the rest period, you're going to pick up a ball and you're just going to pass it. Or you're going to do a scrum setup. You're going to do something. Yeah. Then you can put it down, get a little sip, and then go because we're sprinting. It's going to be max. It's going to be max effort every time. There's no point in sprinting on below 95%. So that's Charlie Francis. He talked about it, and I listened to him a few times. Nothing below 95%. Tempo runs, everything else that's different, 70%. That's it. There's nothing in between. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you mentioned, and I love how you mentioned, some athletes just feel to get as strong as possible, and some of those guys just, they're, I think it, I think one coach said they're eye candy, for, like you said, coming off the bus.
They look good getting off the bus. Yep.
They're the intimidation factor, and that's it. And I think that's why, I kind of love the idea of strong 4. Because so many athletes that I talk to now, they're stressed because they're not squatting as much as they used to, or their goal was to be able to squat X pounds, 400 pounds or 450 or whatever, and they can't hit it. And maybe they're only 20 pounds short of that, but it's that 20-pound gap that's just it's blocking their brain and feels like they're not what they need to be. And in those situations, what's that conversation with an athlete like for you? If they're sitting there saying, well, I need to be 20 pounds stronger in my squat, and we talk about if you can't transfer that strength to the field anyway, then it's no good. So, I mean, how do you kind of address that conversation with the athletes who feel like they're not strong enough in the weight room?
Well, I'll start, kind of educating them on the that transfer out to the field. And I understand, I mean, there were certain benchmarks when I was throwing and everything else, that I had to be able to hit that made me feel like I was ready for that. And then, talking to them about realistic goals and realistic, goals like that is part of it. And then, like I said, understanding them. And then, working to address it. I mean, we've hit some good PRs in the squad or anything like that in season, but that's an off-season goal. And that's trying to get these guys to understand, now we got to do this. You have to have a real off-season. And it's hard in international rugby for sure, because the windows are so small, but over here, these guys in the MLR, they'll break. And the guys that are playing in that, especially Americans that are playing in that, they're going to be done. So they'll have a real off season, different than, my guys in Europe or New Zealand or anywhere else. So, but understanding this is your off season window, you have this many weeks. Well, you want to screw around and do this, this, and this. Well, now you have this many weeks, and watch out, because it's going to bite you in the rear end. All of a sudden, you're going to have 3 weeks before preseason. So, you have to continue to work hard off season. And then you have your preseason block. When preseason block, yeah, you're going to lose a little bit. It's just the way it is. You have to increase your running, you have to increase other things. So you're going to lose a little bit. And then once you get in season, and then the thing with a lot and the issues that I've had before is not being, part of meetings and everything else was not knowing who was not going to make that 23-man roster, because then you can train differently on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, because you don't have a game to recover from, which means on Monday you can train a whole lot differently as well, because you're not recovering from that game on Saturday.
Yeah.
So there's a whole lot that goes into it, and it's just trying, like I said, just trying to get the athletes to understand that's what we're trying to do. I'm trying to get you there. But if you have a 550-pound squat and a 7-inch box jump, and you struggled for that 7 inches, you slammed your feet down on it, or you have a 6 centimeter, standing long jump. Well, maybe that 550-pound squat ain't that good for you.
Yeah.
Or some guys I've seen with, the new push now is everybody's doing complex training to French contrast, and seeing these guys, and, they move from here to they move to there, and then they move to a band assisted jump, and they got 2 bands in their hand, and it's pulling them off the ground, and they're still going, just above a phone book.
Yeah.
Do any of you have phone books anymore? Maybe a credit card. So just getting them to understand off-season goals, realistic off-season goals, and then putting them down. And maybe that's one of our things that we need to do is some of the ones on goal setting.
Yeah.
Goal setting is something that I continue to do to this day in my own training, as well as everyone else's. And I got a great one that I snagged from Ben Franks when I first started training him. He has, because people are so visual now and they're learning that, everything comes on my iPad.
Yeah.
That he made it was probably 10, 12 slides, a PowerPoint presentation with his goals. Wow. But he had personal and professional goals. And he had other things on there as well, things that motivated him, things that drove him, and that's, sayings, this, that, other things. And every morning at breakfast, he went over that 10, 12 slides, sat, ate his eggs, slid through it, making sure that he was on track for that. And look, it's a lot of work, and yeah, I'd like to, and say, don't have a personal life, don't enjoy your family, don't enjoy, doing things. I didn't say don't go have a beer.
Yeah.
I said don't get fallen down drunk and crawl back, because then you're worthless for 2 days. But have fun. Go travel. You can still find stuff to do. I mean, the pandemic damn sure got people to understand that you don't really have to have a gym all the time to achieve your physical fitness. You just got to do something. And it's not, 24 hours. And shit, I'm only asking for 60, 90 minutes, sometimes not even that.
Yeah.
Not that much when you want to be paid to play your sport. And your coach wants you to show up in shape, because when he starts training camp or he starts his practices, the last thing he needs to do is get your fat rear end in shape.
Yeah.
And for the big guys in the tight 5, that's a hard thing. So, they don't always want to run all the time. So I sneak in work capacity circuits that you wish you would have ran instead of doing them.
Yeah.
But you didn't have to run. You didn't have to pound on your body. You get to do that, but you got to watch your eating. You got to do everything else. Like I said, you want to get paid to play your sport, then you got to put a lot into it. Otherwise, use your college degree and go get a regular job. Play club. So that's pretty simple.
No, 100%. And, since you mentioned the Type 5, and obviously our first 2 discussions were, actually our very first discussion, it was a special guest for both of us, really. I mean, an honor truly to be able to connect with Graham Smith, the World Cup winning coach with the England women's team, to discuss the loose forwards.
Working with London Irish's women's team.
Yeah, helping them build up, and so our next conversation next week, we're going to address the hookers, and I know you've done a lot of phenomenal work and a lot of innovative work with the hookers, not just to help them with scrummaging, but the other parts of their game as well. And we'll dive into that next week. But since you mentioned the Type 5, those that are following you on social media probably saw that you dropped the big bomb, the big announcement yesterday that you're going to be offering some 12-week conditioning or 12-week training programs for Type 5 specifically, and as you put it, only the toughest back rowers.
Yes.
But I mean, share a little bit more about what that what that program looks like, what inspired it, what's it going to entail, and what's your goal and objective for the athletes that go into it.
Well, this is, like we had talked before, this is something I've wanted to do for quite some time now. After seeing some programs, visiting, talking to players, everything else, and seeing some just don't understand what it is to be a big guy. So my experience with, obviously, I'm 285, 290 pounds when I was throwing, having to be strong to counter a 56-pound weight, but having to be athletic and explosive to be able to throw that 56-pound weight either, and not just throw it just barely over the trig, trying to win championships and everything else. Because even when I'll be 60 this year, I'm still trying to win world championships. But then also looking at the taller guys in the back row, or in the second row, and that is, understanding that from my time with the Spurs, my time in basketball, training these big guys, down in the post, trying to maintain their position down there, and everything else. So, what I saw in training just didn't equate to helping these guys. And again, like we just said, with some of the fitness, little guys can go out and run. I mean, it doesn't pound on you that much. But when you weigh 265 pounds, 250 pounds, and you've been out there running all season, the last thing you want to do is run. So I have a different way of getting you physically fit. Always going to do sprint work. We're always going to have sprints in the program once or twice a week, period. I expect you to get on a bike, 20, 30 minutes. I all of that. But there's other ways of achieving your heart rate, your work capacity. And whether it's through circuits, whether it's through, rest time, manipulating the rest time and everything else. So this program it'll be 12 weeks, and it'll be a strict off-season program. I always divided into 3 blocks. The first block is rebuilding that strength, building the strength, and I always call it body armor, and all that is just attributing to your lean muscle mass. I call it body armor because we said you got to be resilient. The first thing that you hit someone with are your shoulders. We got to get some muscle up there. We got to get some strength so they stay in place. I kind of break all of that down, but they still have to be flexible. Within all of it, and that's one thing I always try to remind people, within all of a proper strength training program, flexibility and mobility is already built in. That's the reason that your hands are a little tighter when you squat. You go below parallel, as close to below parallel as you can go comfortably. But if you're squatting, quarter of the way down, halfway down, that's not going to help you. That's not going to help your ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, scapula, thoracic spine, everything you need as a front rower to be strong and mobile in order to get into position. And you had mentioned when we were first talking is a presentation that I've done several times, and it's strong and powerful in the correct positions. I don't care how strong and powerful you are in a half a position. If that's not the position that you're supposed to be in on the pitch, or throwing, or this or that, then what good is it? So the first phase is always that, and then the second phase, I start building it. I'll call it explosive strength and power. To me, they're a little bit different. My explosive strength will be like power cleans, snatch grip, high pulls for that flexibility, everything else, and then that power, that's where, healthy shoulders will snatch, dumbbell snatch, but I also throw a lot of medicine balls. And I expect your big guys to be able to jump. There is absolutely no reason that a front rower at a young age, I'm not saying somebody that's been been playing professionally all year long for a long time, but especially at a young age, and if you can get them at a young age to get them acclimated to that, you can't jump. I'm not telling you land all the time. We're gonna go jump uphill. So you'll reduce that force, or jump onto a box. But the medicine ball too, explode. And you want it to be a med ball. Yes, the Olympic lifts are explosive, but that med ball is more explosive. Because you get to release it, so it's not joint limiting. You're not trying to catch it, you're just trying to sail it. I've thrown everything from up to 45-pound plates over my head, trying to be more explosive for what I do. And then the final phase will be building athletic strength. If I can figure out how to get the picture back up. Oh, well, the building athletic strength and power, trying to get all that to where everyone is you're ready for your preseason. You're not just yeah. I mean that's the easiest way to describe it, is just you're ready for your preseason. And that's where that'll go into the preseason. And then, preseason is going to bring in more running, everything else, more skills. But within all of this, and I even put it in a email that I'll send out to the guys that are interested in the program, is it doesn't do any good to make gains in the gym that don't transfer to the rugby pitch. So you have to continue to work your rugby skills. You have to continue to pass. You have to continue to, do scrum setups. You have to continue to do the things that are important for your position on the pitch.
And you mentioned kind of the younger athletes and the ones who have not been in the league or been at the top level for a number of years. What obviously any type 5 athlete or any athlete can benefit from this, but what would you say is kind of the target age range or target competition level that would benefit most from this?
Well, because this is more of a general program. This isn't written specific to one player, which is normally what I do. But it still is going to encompass that, because I don't know how to not do it that way. Something, well, especially in the second phase, there'll be something specific to the hooker, specific to the to the front row, to the two different props, and then to the guys in the locks and that. But so I would think that would work for anyone through college, MLR, even through the MLR. There should be. They won't stop their season until end of July. End of July this year. But they can damn sure jump right into it, and that. So. And then guys that haven't really, especially with the pandemic, that haven't really been training that much. You have quite a bit of people that really haven't been training all that much, especially in the weight room. I listen to some of these guys overseas and everything else. I'm like, shit, yeah, even them. Like I said, a lot of the fancy stuff is just that. It's just fluff. I'm not chasing these mythical unicorns. Just very classical lifts, classical approach to it. The ones that work. That's just my philosophy in that. I'm far from a stupid meathead. Which is what I've heard enough times.
yeah
But power cleans work, squats work, bench press works, inclines works, if you do other things with it to make it explosive, to make it athletic.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to train you like a power lifter. I'm a power lifted. I did very well. I love my powerlifting,
Yeah.
but that wide stance, heavy, slow moving squat, sumo deadlift, or that heavy bench that's way down on your belly so that you can explode up, that doesn't equate. I mean, it's impressive. I mean, I have a buddy of mine that freaking bench presses over 1,000 pounds. That's impressive. The idea that you can even put that much in your hands. I wouldn't want to put that much on my back.
Yeah.
You know? This weekend, I'll spend time with Donnie Thompson, who squatted 1,300 pounds
Oh my gosh.
at 40 something years old. First man to total 3,000 pounds.
Wow.
But he's got these innovative things that he does with body tempering, his bow tie, and everything else. I mean, I'm so excited to be able to spend some time with him and bring a lot of the information I learned from him back to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. And I think the timing of it too, you know, I think your June 1st is kind of the launch date for this program. So obviously 12 weeks from there, you're looking at the end of August, and you mentioned, you know, college or even club level athletes, you know, that's the perfect time. You know, a lot of college athletes are they're out of school right now. Maybe they're in summer school. And I know for most of at least within rugby, I know most of the college athletes, you know, around mid-August is when they're starting to, you know, either they're starting their preseason workouts or they're at least ramping up for it. You know, especially the Midwest, the Northeast, they're going to be games are going to be kicking off Labor Day weekend, if not slightly before that. And so the timing of this, I think is and of course I'm talking about this from, you know, as you know, a lot of people probably don't, but I've got the strength coach and the rugby hat, you know, the rugby coach hats that I got a swap between. So, you know, if I put my head coaching hat on and I say, okay, they're going to be my type 5 are in this program for 12 weeks. That means, as you said, by the time they show up in mid-August or even late August, and they've been doing this for 12 weeks,
Yeah, they better be
I
ready
can
to
trust
jump right
that
into your program.
exactly, you know, and then at
Same
that
thing
point, all I got to do is.
same thing for the high school. And that's the one thing that the you know, be nice. That's the one thing that the MLR has done is given these kids in college and in high school a path to look and say, shit, well, you know what? I can play and get my skills better. And maybe I can dream, because you got to have dreams and goals. Maybe I can dream to go overseas, but I can play in an MLR. I can play here to, you know, and make money at it. And that. So, you know, maybe I could work a little bit harder during my off season. You know, I've got X amount of years, and then, you know, programs are starting to get better in college. It should trickle down from the MLR to kids in college saying, if I work really hard, I can go here. And in the you know, these high school kids, well, I get to college so I can play a couple of years, and until the MLR teams develop real academies, you know, to get a pathway. But there's still a pathway. There's still tangible that they can look at and see. So maybe that'll help them motivate to work their butt off. Because when you come out of high school and you come out of college, you're not ready to go to the next level unless you're a freak. And there's only a few of those. There's only a few Andrew Guerreras who has come out and has dominated and done extremely well. Nola Gold.
And that's I think that's something that you know, you were obviously very humble during that time and didn't you know, didn't promote it, do a lot of self-promotion, but you know, as you say, a lot of these high school and college athletes are aspiring to that, and that's one of the benefits of, you know, being able to work with someone like you is you were working with those athletes, you were working at that level, and so like you say, when you tell someone, hey, you're not ready for this level, it's because you've been there, and you know, I'm sure you and I both could find some examples of athletes who are there who still are not ready for that level.
Yeah,
you know,
and that's the important part about the MLR and then even in college, is developing these athletes, real development, instead of just, oh, he's pretty quick and I need him, so let me just shove him out there.
Yeah.
Half prepared. They need to be fully prepared. Jimmy Johnson, the football coach, had a great quote when he was winning the championship with the Cowboys, that you win on a 53-man roster. Yeah, X 47 guys that dressed. The rest of them are practice squad players, but every one of them. I blessed to sit behind Coach Popovich with the San Antonio Spurs. I mean, I sat directly behind Coach Popovich from 1999 to the end of the 2003, one championship to another. I sat right behind him, and he made wholesale changes at times. All 5 guys on the floor, like a hockey line change. And I worked in hockey as well. But in a hockey line, he's done hockey line changes where he sent 5 guys to the scorer table and sat five starters because they weren't playing well. And the level of play did not drop. It actually went up, because that's the way we trained. That's the way we practiced. Yeah. So, or, looking at Ben Franks, when Ben and I talked, he always talked, he was an impact player when he was for the All Blacks quite often. Means he came off the bench and made an impact, whether to raise the level of play up on the field, and whether that was knocking the crap out of someone and damn near getting a yellow card, or hitting someone hard, or just firing guys up. He had that ability. So, yeah.
No, 100%. Well, that sounds awesome, and hopefully anybody listening to this, they're following you on social media. If they're not, hopefully they get there soon enough.
I promise I'll be putting more content up as I get out of the comfort zone.
Yeah.
The friend zone.
Yeah. And you'll have more information coming out about about that program starting up June 1st. Definitely something that and I can, again, if I put my head coach hat on, you were working with our players here, our Type 5 players here for the last 6 to 8 weeks of the spring semester, when we were trying to get some games in, and I know it made a huge difference, not just in their performance, but more importantly, I think in their confidence, that they had someone there that understood what they're going through, and the pressures and everything else, and also you touched on
together.
Yeah. And so, I know they certainly appreciate that. And then of course, for any other athlete that's outside the Type 5, they can reach out to me. I'll take care.
Yep, they can hit you up. You're the one that specializes in the backs. I specialize in the forwards. You're specializing in the backs because you're a back. Not that you don't know the forward spot or anything like that, but same thing. Well, we had talked about this before, and I talked about it with others. You go to a football team and there's 15 different coaches, but one strength coach for everybody. 105 guys in college, 50 something guys in the NFL. In rugby, the same thing. You got an attack coach, you got a scrum coach, you got a line out coach, you got the defensive coach, you got a head coach, you got this analysis, you got this guy, and you got a strength coach. What's the problem with having a head strength coach who controls the program, guy that specializes in this part of the type, but and this specializes in that. What they did in Cleveland, where my buddy Evan is, he does. Not that he can't do the other stuff, but his primary job is strength and power. And to me, I always understand that, because especially as a big guy, strength is confidence. If I'm strong, I'm confident. If I'm not strong, I'm not as confident. That means grabbing that 56-pound weight. I grab that weight to throw. If it feels heavy, it's in my mind. So that and so my shirt's a little baggier through the shoulders, I'm going to get my feelings hurt. I don't care if it's a little tight in the gut, but
yeah. No, well, that sounds awesome. I'm super excited to kind of launch this initiative on our own, and certainly look forward to bringing in some some other coaches as we go along. But you know, there's a wealth of knowledge there in that brain of yours. Like you said, you're more than just a meathead. You know, you are the scientist behind it as well, and looking forward to diving deeper into a lot of this stuff and sharing it with, like you said, with other coaches and more importantly with the athletes that we're going to be helping.
Heck yeah.
So good stuff.